Yo, is this a jazz joint?
Air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Call as a quarterback and send him out. I feel that air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Call as a quarterback and send him out. Take off. I'm on a rocket, a space dog. Bought a new car from Elon, wanna race. I've been asking how long is it gonna take. I've been cracking the car, had to break the safe. I've been riding my wrongs, had to change my ways. I was stuck in one place, so I had to shake. They try holding me down, but I found my way. Roddy Rich and so bicycle love me. Ride away, then my heart went on ice again. Find the balance, my patience been going thin. In the field every day till I reach the end. Popping up on your side like we out of bounds. Ain't no way that they think that it's stopping now. I've been waiting for my turn to come around. I've been waiting for my turn to come around. Air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Call as a quarterback and send him out. I feel that air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Call as a quarterback and send him out.
What's up, football fans, and welcome to the Air It Out podcast. I am your host. My name is Avery. And here's the thing, guys. I don't know if you noticed, but the gang is back together. That's right. We're all back. You see it. You see it. Look at all those faces. You know, see, it's been a while since we all been on here together, getting it going. Anywho, I'm excited. We were just talking about some ball games and some college football and college quarterbacks and different things like that. And I would just like to say these are some pretty astute analysts that I'm currently on this podcast with. So I would like to introduce them to you, starting with this person right here, the 1+1. Now, say what's up to the folks.
Happy to be on today. Go Blue for the Big Ten championship tonight. I don't know how Iowa has been able to get through with such a great defense and a really bad offense, but this isn't a college football podcast, and I'm sorry, Chris, if I'm breaking your heart with that take, but Big Blue over OSU any day.
That's right. Go Big Blue. I'm sorry, I can't stand Ohio State. Anywho, Coach, say what's up to the people, man.
So glad to be back on. Glad for everybody to be back on. Welcome to the crew when it comes to the +1. And we ain't talking about that because that ain't real. I just want y'all to know who really on top right now.
Yeah,
we don't got to play this week. We still on top.
We know who's on top.
I want y'all to understand that.
We know who's on top right here.
Just saying.
They, in fact, are on top. You are correct. Darius, what's up, sir? How you feeling?
Happy Saturday. Good to be back. Have the crew back. All I'm going to say is the tank, embrace the tank. Embrace the tank. We're 2-9, baby. So I'm embracing the tank. That's all I got to say.
Say Tua like Tua's in the draft. I mean, are you hoping for Michael Penix because he's also left-handed? That's kind of what it sounds like.
Listen, I'm hoping that we draft the right player. I'll have a better answer for that after free agency. Once free agency ends and we're done with that, I'll have a better answer.
You will draft the right player and ruin him.
I'm just saying
how the mighty has fallen.
I'm just saying,
it's like everyone's Zach Wilson.
I will see. My team has a history of ruining quarterbacks. Yours is just starting.
Cam Newton's still out there. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, it's the Air It Out podcast.
Him too.
It's the Air It Out podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of quarterbacks, we're going to jump right into our first topic. It's a great segue. And Juan, you were talking about your team and how you guys have ruined quarterbacks and have not done a great job at that position. However, you got a sure first ballot Hall of Famer on your team currently on your roster who looked to turn your season around, your franchise around, and then unfortunately got hurt. However, ladies and gentlemen, we're hearing that Aaron Rodgers could actually suit up within the next 2 weeks after tearing his Achilles. Ladies and gentlemen, look, Juan had to run. He's so excited. He ran, ladies and gentlemen. He's running around the house in excitement because Aaron Rodgers could potentially be playing in the next 2 weeks. So my question is very simple, Juan, and I will start with you since you are the resident Jets fan here. Should Aaron Rodgers suit up this season?
I bought this jersey the moment Aaron Rodgers was traded to the New York Jets. I wore this jersey the night he made his start against the Bills. And I will wear this jersey to make the announcement. Aaron, stay home. Do not touch the field. Look, yes, the Jets opened up his 21-day return from injury window, so to speak. And he's out there. He's practicing not at full speed. But he himself has said he is not 100% to go yet. It takes 3 months for an Achilles injury to heal all surgery. And then the rehab is another 5 to 6 afterwards. You go out there, what's the point? I get that the pride comes into saying, yeah, I've done it. I came back from an Achilles injury in the same season and started a game in the NFL. That's great for you, but what about the crest? What about the city, the fan base? You're trotting yourself out there behind a league-worst offensive line with weapons who are failing you. Like, for example, your guy, Allen Lazard, is one of the worst wide receivers in the league right now. He has a 20% drop rate across the year right now, man. You are ranked 90 out of 100 receivers. Allen Lazard is. Randall Cobb is old, and Garrett Wilson might be your only premier weapon because no one else is really stepping up to the plate. Not to mention, I know that this defense is legendary. I know that it is elite, and if they could score more than 20 points a game, the team would be like 8 to 9 wins up right now. But we can't because Nathaniel Hackett is hack, and you're going into a system that he's running because you know that you're comfortable in doing whatever you want and he'll just let you. But you're wasting your time doing it this season. This is not the year you should be doing it. And look at and he said he will come back based on his health and on the playoff strength, playoff possibilities for the Jets. The next opponents on the schedule for the Jets: Sundays versus Atlanta. Next week, Houston. After that, at Miami. Then Washington comes to town. Then 2 away games in Cleveland and New England. You tell me, in that amalgamation of teams, where do you see a win? Because I don't see it. I don't see this season improving. I don't see it. And here's the thing. I don't think this coaching staff's going to get fired because Aaron tore his Achilles. I think they're going to get one more chance. They don't deserve it. I love Robert Saleh. That man's my guy. And I would love for him to be a Jet for the rest of the time. But he cannot develop a quarterback. He couldn't develop Zach Wilson. He couldn't get Tim Boyle up to speed. And Nathaniel Hackett certainly couldn't do it. And Joe Douglas, for all he's done as a GM, still hasn't improved that defensive line. Still isn't able to bring in quality weapons. Well, aside from Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. But apart from that, your free agency track record is trash, my friend. So, bottom line, this team is not ready for the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers needs to know that now. There's no win in this schedule going forward, which is ironic from what my game picks are going to be, but we'll leave that for later. Stay your butt home, Aaron Rodgers. Do not come to MetLife Stadium.
I hear you. Well, here's the thing. I will say this about Robert Saleh as far as getting quarterbacks prepared. He's not an offensive-minded coach in the first place. He's not a quarterback whisperer. He's a defensive-minded coach. I don't think it's really on him to get the quarterback prepared. I think it's on the OC and the quarterback's coach. So I think it's more of a reflection on his staff than it is his coaching. I do think, though, you are correct and accurate in saying, hey, Aaron Rodgers got hurt. I think everybody on staff should probably get another shot at it with a fully healthy Aaron Rodgers and see what they can do from there. I mean, because winning masks a bunch of different things, right? So, and then let's keep it 100. Even when it comes to that, I don't think anybody could have molded Zach Wilson. I said it from the jump. I don't think he's an NFL starting quarterback. Tim Boyle he's always been a perennial backup. He's not that guy.
We've had
There's
moments in Jets history. A 99-yard Hail Mary pick six, apart from the butt fumble, is absolutely painful.
listen.
Just to put the cherry on top, happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers. You're now 40.
I'm just saying that I don't think anybody could have molded. It's like Zach Wilson, and I've said this from the jump when he was coming out of college. He's this generation's Johnny Manziel. And I'm not saying like he's a terrible quarterback. It's just there's something that he's missing. It's like you've got all the tools. You can make every throw in the book. You're athletic. All of it's, but in between the ears, my questions. But like I said, your coaching situation could be much worse. That's all I'm saying is your coaching situation could be way worse than what it is right now. Darius. Should Aaron Rodgers play? I mean, it's in your division. You guys, neither one of you guys looks to be like a playoff team right now, but they're still in the hunt. If they're like, let's say, a game out, should he play?
Absolutely not. And I agree with the fellow Jets fan. What are you playing for? The AFC currently is stacked, right? Like the AFC, if you look at this playoff picture, you got the Denver Broncos, who out of nowhere started winning games. You have the Houston Texans, even though they lost to Jacksonville. And if you watch that game, there's some questionable calls. The officiating has been terrible this season. Everybody's team on this panel has lost because of bad officiating. Every loss was due to bad officiating. The AFC is so stacked right now. Aaron Rodgers comes back. What are you coming back for? You're not going to make a push. Now, if they would have beat Miami on Black Friday, now you start to make that question. Okay, we got to win. We got some momentum. Now we can talk about coming back. But you lost to Miami, and that's a divisional game. That's just that's a divisional game that you lost. And again, with the AFC being stacked, stay home, rehab, be a mentor to Zach Wilson, because eventually I think the plan was for Zach to take over once Aaron was done with New York. I don't know if that's still the plan, but just continue to be the mentor to Zach, which he needs, because every young quarterback needs an older mentor, an older quarterback to mentor them, especially when they're making that transition from college to the pros. And like you said, what's the biggest thing? He can make all the throws, but it's between the ears. Mentally, it's something missing. And I think that's what it could possibly be. And you have a future Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback who's been to the playoffs, who's been the number one ranked player in the NFL, has a Super Bowl, has numerous MVPs to learn from. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, there's not one game that we can – maybe the Commanders, maybe the Commanders. That's like possibly the only game. You can't say Cleveland because that defense, and yeah, they may have lost Myles Garrett for a few weeks or however long he's out, but Cleveland's still a really good team defensively, right? So I look at possibly just maybe the Commanders and maybe New England, but we know how that goes, and that's a topic for a different day. But honestly, just sit him out for the season, let him fully rehab, let him come back fully healthy, build up that offensive line, get him some weapons. So for next year, you can honestly make a play, because the AFC East is wide open. The AFC East is wide open right now. There's no clear cut. We thought Buffalo was going to be the team. We see what's going on in Buffalo. Miami, still some question marks. Can they beat a team that has a winning record? Same thing with Dallas. So we saw what Dallas did on Thursday, but that's the biggest question mark with Miami. So the AFC East is wide open. And honestly, the next year is going to be the time for Rodgers to come back, build that team. The defense is good. Just get him some protection, get him some more weapons, and let him do what he does best.
Miami has yet to beat a team with a winning record. Just want to put that out.
And they're leading the division, and that's a team that's leading the division. So that tells you everything you need to know about that division that is completely up for grabs. There's no clear-cut favorite to come out. Before, it was always New England, right? AFC East is New England. Then we kind of started to transition to Buffalo. Now Buffalo has lost that, and now it's really up to Miami. But what have they done?
Yeah, very, very interesting to see. Coach, should Aaron Rodgers play? Should he call it a season? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are actually pretty simple. if you don't sit down somewhere, like, what are you doing? I'm very blunt with it. Aaron Rodgers, you're just almost at that 3-month mark, maybe, of getting over your Achilles injury. If you were to, if you were to come back at this time, yes, you would probably still be better than what they have now out there on the field. And let's say you have a miracle run. You start to feel a little bit more healthy, but you're still taking damage because, let's be honest, again, you have one of the worst offensive lines, and you're going to score about 20 points a game. But let's just say, for a miracle to happen, you make it into the playoffs. What is the point of coming back and hurting yourself more, hurting your chances in an off season to fully recover better, to start next season on a tear, when you can add more weapons to that arsenal, which we know that you need, and then tear up the AFC? But until then, what is the point of coming back and literally just losing in the first round? And if you somehow make it past there, you're going to come in as the 6th, 7th seed. Do you think you can beat one of the top 2 seeds, Kansas City, Ravens, possibly Miami, if they went out? But again, could you beat that? Because if you can't, what is the point?
You sound like somebody who doesn't want Aaron Rodgers to come back, because if he comes back in the playoffs, the Ravens might not. I'm kidding. No, I agree with you guys. I think, here's my personal opinion. Aaron Rodgers shouldn't have been on the sideline at all this season. He shouldn't have been on the sideline at all. He shouldn't have been helping. He shouldn't have been coaching. He shouldn't have been mentoring. He shouldn't have been doing any of those things. He should have packed it in and stayed home and watched them implode. Why? You get yourself a nice little draft pick there. You get yourself in position to potentially draft, let's say, a Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Like, you allow the team to self-destruct, and then you get a high draft pick. You get a very solid number 1 receiver. You come back next season. That's scary. That's just me. Like, that's how I wouldn't have been coaching. I wouldn't have been encouraging nobody. I'd have been like, y'all are about to suck this year, and I'm going to love it, because we're about to get a high draft pick, and we can do one of 2 things with that high draft pick. We can draft a very, very good wide receiver, or we can trade that pick and stockpile some things, right? I think
for Devontae, bring Devontae to New York.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying that that's how I would have handled the situation if I was Aaron Rodgers. But I understand the competitor in him as well, right? I remember when I was playing and I pulled my hamstring, my immediate thought was, because I was told 8 weeks. I said, I'm not missing 8 weeks. I said, it's not happening. I'm not missing 8 weeks. I came back in 4 and then had to sit 4 more because I re-injured my hamstring. Aaron Rodgers, sit down. You should have sat down the entire season. You should not have even been on the sideline. Props to you. Shout out to you. Shout out to the surgeon who did your surgery and the new medicine and all those. That's it's amazing. It really is something like wow. But no, sit down. Like Coach said, sit your behind down. Let your team do what they do. Come back next season and get right. Okay? Coach, you were about to say something?
Yeah, last thought on this. Could y'all imagine Garrett Wilson? They go ahead, get a high draft pick next year if they just tanked, right? And then they trade back into the first round and sneak in Brock Bowers and Marvin Harrison, along with Breece Hall. That would be nasty. I'm just saying, because when you mentioned Marvin, I'm like, I can see that offense being a problem.
It'd be beautiful. And my
Marvin Harrison is going like top 3, right? Like, he's not making.
That's why I said if they would have tanked.
That's why I said tank. And
that's why I said once he said tank, I was like, they would have tanked. They could have got a top 3 to a top 5.
Not with the other 2 teams tanking. It's a tank, baby.
I mean, but y'all think on, baby. My thing is this: y'all probably gonna go quarterback anyway. Like, as much as y'all probably should go receiver, y'all probably going to go quarterback.
But that's why I
You don't need to
said
go quarterback. Y'all don't
before
have
the
one.
show, when free agency ends, now we have a better idea of what the game plan is. Because the Patriots have so much cap space,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily, if you feel like, okay, Mac just needs weapons, if you're finally like, okay, let's get him some protection, let's get him some weapons, you could do what you just said because Belichick loves to trade back. Hey, let's trade back. We could stockpile some picks.
This
We
is
just
true.
got him a premier offensive. We just got him a number one. I mean, look at the free agency class this receivers. Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Marquise Brown. Like, it's a lot of big names out there that you don't necessarily have to really open up a big checkbook for, but you can pay them and you can figure out a way. That way you don't have to really, and then, like, depending on how they want to do it. That's why I said free agency happens. After that, we'll see what the game plan is.
Well, you mentioned Mike Evans. If Mike Evans is leaving Tampa, he's leaving to get paid. I'm gonna just put it out there. The only way he stays in Tampa,
yes,
is from a lawyer.
but what does he have to? He's gonna. Mike Evans is a future Ballot Hall of Famer. He's on a pace for another 1,000 yard receiving.
Well,
he has a Super Bowl ring.
Mike Evans leaves. He's leaving to go win a Super Bowl. So
No,
Where is he? What does he have to play for?
let's be
No, he's
honest.
not.
I'm
No,
not
he's
discouraging. I'm
No,
not
he's not.
discouraging that fact, Avery.
Mike Evans has already got a Super Bowl ring.
That's what I'm saying.
Mike
What is he
Evans
playing
is
for?
going to get paid if he leaves.
But
Tampa.
at his age, do you really think a team is going
Whoever
to
he
pay him
goes
for
to
mere
wants
money?
to pay him. Let's
Yes.
be honest.
At his age,
Yes.
the production is there. I'm not
Anywhere he
relaxing.
goes,
I'm
he's
saying
going
the
to get
production is
paid.
there.
Here's
Does not matter.
my question. Here's my question. Where's the fall off?
There's no fall off.
Thank you.
Hold on. My biggest.
Paid.
I'm not
Period.
saying he's not getting paid. I'm just saying because of his age. You know how these GMs are. He's over 30.
2 to 3
So I'm
years,
saying
20 million. 2 to 3 years, 20 million.
Listen,
25
I'm
million.
saying if
Because
who
again,
says no? I'm not disagreeing. I'm not
Every
disagreeing.
year,
I'm
it's
just
1,000
putting it in
plus yards.
if
perspective.
he
That's all.
leaves Tampa, it's to get paid. That's
He's
all
going
I'm
to leave
saying.
Tampa.
but again, he's going to go somewhere where he can get a Super Bowl. He may go for like 20 million a year, 2 to 3 years, but that team will be a perennial Super Bowl contender then. That's where he's going to go
As
next.
long
I can see him. Listen,
Because there's no other reason for
As
him to
long
leave.
as he doesn't
I
go
can see
Let any amount of
we're
money
good.
someone
I
pays for
can
him.
see him going to the Jets.
There's
Same
no
with Aaron Rodgers.
there's no chance right now that the Bucks have a real opportunity to go to the Super Bowl.
That's
be
not
honest.
true. That's
I
not
definitely
true.
do
I'm
think
sorry.
he leaves the
I'm
NFC.
sorry. I don't
think he leaves
believe
the
that the
NFC.
Bucks will go to a Super Bowl this year or next year with who they have right now. I'm
And
sorry.
he already got a
depends.
Super Bowl with the
It
team that drafted
depends.
him.
It depends on who they get at quarterback. That's all I'm saying. But
Again,
anyway,
this
listen,
year
we're
and
gonna-
next year, as it is right now, I don't see any
Okay.
way
All
they
right.
can.
with the way their roster is currently constructed, again, they're a quarterback away. Like, let's just call it what it is. Their defense is still good. Their offense is still good. They can run the football. They're a quarterback away.
Yeah,
But
they can so run football. And it's not even really great. They just started trying to figure that out. And
the reality is, we say they couldn't run the football, but because Baker Mayfield was the quarterback, I would stack the box too. When you get a good quarterback back there, then you'll see they can run the football.
Yeah.
Because, anyway, we're going to move on to the next subject. And the next subject is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some teams who are currently in the playoffs right now. Like, when the playoffs started today, these teams are in. They're in. They're locks. Okay? My question to you is, who that is currently in the playoffs right now, if the playoffs started today, what team or teams will not be there when the playoffs actually start? Darius, I'll start with you. Who's the team or teams that you're saying like, yeah, they're in there now, but they're not going to make it?
I'll do it like this. I'll do one from each conference. The thing I like about the playoffs and I don't like about the playoffs is as long as you win your division, you're automatically in and you get a home game. So I'm going to discount the division leader teams like Kansas City, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Miami. But now you look at these wild card teams, right? And like you look at the division that I'm looking at really in the AFC is the AFC North. I think it's the best division in all of football right now because those teams are literally in a dogfight of who's going to make the playoffs. And not all four of these teams are going to make the playoffs. I really think Pittsburgh is not going to make the playoffs. And I know Mike Tomlin, he's a great coach. I believe Pittsburgh is going to have a winning record, but I just don't see them making the playoffs because you have the Houston Texans who have a better offense than them. You have the Indianapolis Colts. Even though they lost Jonathan Taylor for a few weeks, they're starting to get it together. And Gardner Minshew, we talk about this year, it's been the story of the backup quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew is playing some of the best football you would ask for a backup quarterback. They're not asking him to go out there and do too much. They're saying, hey, this is the game plan. We're going to run the ball. Our defense is going to keep us in games. Don't turn the ball over. Can you do that? And then keep the plays alive with your legs. He's doing that and a little bit more. So I believe the Colts are going to they have a chance. But I really think the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's just something about that team that I'm just not believing in. And I love Mike Tomlin. Never had a losing record. Keeps that team in games, and they get outgained. They were getting outgained every year. And I believe it was last week, for the first time this season, 400 yards of total offense. That's completely embarrassing. Completely embarrassing. But they find wins to win games. And I said this a few weeks ago, football is really played in November, December. Now we're going to really start to see football being played. But I really don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And then the NFC, Avery, I'm sorry, man. As much as I would try to make the playoffs, and y'all got the win last week, I just don't really see y'all. Like, I love y'all. Y'all defense is going to keep you in games. It's, again, and it's like you said with Tampa Bay. You guys are a quarterback away from actually making a lot of noise in the NFC, right? Like, your defense is going to keep you in games. You have the offensive firepower now. You just need the quarterback, and I just don't trust Desmond. Like, if you can sit here and tell me right now you trust Desmond Ridder to get you to go on a road and get you a playoff win or to clinch a playoff game tying win or whatever the case maybe is, hey, I that's on you. But I just don't believe Atlanta is going to make the play. I think they're going to it's going to be close, and I think it's going to be how we saw with the NFC East. It's going to come down to the final game. I don't know who you guys playing your final game, but I think that's who it's going to come down to, because I could see Atlanta kind of just taking the foot off the gas a little bit. But again, they're going to make games competitive just because how good that defensive is, which is a very, very, very underrated defense. Jesse Bates is balling, and who knew signing him would make such a difference in that secondary with AJ Terrell, and Jeff Okudah is also balling out too as well. Got to give that props.
I like it. I'm not mad. Juan, again, current playoff teams, current playoff picture. Who's in right now that won't be there come playoff time?
Well, I only have one team, but Darius went both conferences, so I'm going to go both conferences too. I'll start with the AFC. I have to disagree with you, Darius. I do believe that some kind of tomfoolery is going to get the Steelers barely into the playoffs, because that's just kind of what the team is Mike Tomlin with tomfoolery happening, essentially.
So someone else says it. Oh my God. My God.
And I think like what's going to happen is there is an AFC North team going to get kicked out, but it's not the Steelers and it's certainly not the Ravens. It's the Cleveland Browns. I do not trust this Cleveland team to keep consistent going down the stretch. I mean, the rest of the schedule they have, it may look easy on paper, but it's too suspect to trust. You're at Los Angeles against the Rams, then Jacksonville, then Chicago, then Houston, then New York, then the Bengals. 4 of those 5 teams have top 10 defenses. All right. And this is going against a team whose quarterback situation is, to put as lightly as possible, murky. You have Joe Flacco.
He was an elite quarterback at one point.
Flacco.
There was conversation.
Quarterback.
There was conversation.
I'm out.
3 years. Oh, sorry. 3 years.
Did Darius?
I'm not saying. I'm telling you what they were saying.
Did Darius?
They were saying
that there was a
Darren. Hold on, Darren. If I'm lying,
you had your chance to talk. That's my turn. The fact of the matter is,
what?
The fact of the matter is, you have Joe Flacco starting your team. Is he serviceable? Maybe, but he's not a game changer. The offensive line is beat up. Let me read you the injury list that are going into this team. Offensive lineman, Joe Bitonio. Wide receiver, Amari Cooper. Defensive end, Myles Garrett. David Njoku. Wyatt Teller. Juan Thornhill. Denzel Ward. Freaking it's Marquise Goodwin. It's a laundry list of stars on the injury report right now. the fact of the matter is this team is injury riddled. They are relying on a good run game combination of, I forget his first name, but Ford and Hunt, because Nick Chubb's out for the year. Their offensive line is in tatters, but it's still somewhat doing a decent job of putting things together. This gives me flashbacks of the 09-010 Jets that were a playoff team that made it to the championship game, but I don't trust Cleveland to make it out of this season alive, because they are going. I feel like there's going to be a late in-season implosion, and it starts in Los Angeles this week. Oh, and my NFC team, I completely forgot because I'm a jerk. You know what? There's a laundry list you can choose from. I'm gonna go with the Vikings. Mostly because I think the Josh Dobbs / Jeremy Lin run that he went on the last couple of weeks is over. We're finally coming back down to earth. I like Josh Dobbs. He is what Twitter's been calling the alopecia assassin, who's bringing that bald head aggression everywhere that he's going. But I just don't think it's enough to carry this team over into what it can be. I think they're going to get leapfrogged, and the team that's going to leapfrog them is the Green Bay Packers. I think the Packers will replace the Vikings in the playoff.
The alopecia assassin, ladies and gentlemen. The alopecia assassin.
Not the astronaut, not the running experience, but
the astronaut meme is hilarious.
That was mine for the day. My Saturday is made right there. Darius said that Joe Flacco at some point in his career was considered an elite quarterback.
Darren,
I'm just trying to
Darren, when y'all won the Super Bowl, right or wrong, wasn't there conversation saying that Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback? Right or wrong?
He was 29 when he did that. He was 29. No, he was like,
Hold on.
Let's go.
Right or wrong, Darren?
No.
Right
let's
go
back to
that. All right, Coach.
It's a simple answer.
My point
to answer Darius's exact question, the conversations were trying to be had. Yes,
that's all I said.
But was he ever an elite quarterback?
No.
Not even in one of his best years was he an elite quarterback. He was the elite game manager that we needed. He was an elite game manager, but he was not an elite quarterback.
They were having those conversations. That's all I said.
I'll make that very clear. He could be an elite game manager when we won the Super Bowl and things like that at his height. Yes, but he was never an elite quarterback.
All right, let's move past Joe Flacco.
Let's talk about these playoff teams now and how my Ravens ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. But in the AFC, it's a nice little list here. So you got to think the Jaguars and the Texans actually split this year. So they have a still chance of possibly getting overtaken. But again, just depends on the runs and how this works out. But I do have the Texans going and sneaking up. I don't have the Colts holding it. I do not. I'm sorry. I know that's a weak thing there, but the Colts, I see them being the ones that's getting out of the playoff picture at 7 and the Texans overtaking them. But the same way I see that, I see the Cleveland Browns going instead of what's going to happen with the tomfoolery of the Steelers still being there and having actually a chance to win the division still. I see the Steelers still being in the playoffs. But the Cleveland Browns are going to leave, and the Broncos are going to make the playoffs this year. I'm calling it. I don't know what they did after that 70-point loss, but they said, you know what, we're going back to the fundamentals. And you've seen it. Even though they had 2 more losses after that, you've seen the growth and you've seen what that offense was about to be. And they just finally started clicking. And they're clicking, again, at the right time. November, going into December, going into January. That's how all teams really wanted to happen.
Russell Wilson, ultimate game manager, man. 20 touchdowns to 4 picks, but only like 2,200 yards passing. Like the man is no longer making opportunities like he did in Seattle, but he is managing the heck out of this team.
He's what they need at this time. They have plenty of young talent to be able to actually produce on offense. And on the defensive side, they're still a stout unit. So they had all the ability. They just needed to put it together. And then for the NFC side, well, you can mix and match this any way you want. But the only 2 teams that's really No, there's three, I would say. There's three teams that's a lock for the playoffs no matter what. That's Philly, that's San Fran, and that's the Lions. Everyone else is really a toss-up. Dallas, yeah, they'll probably sneak in, but Dallas is not going to do anything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Avery, but Atlanta's not sturdy there at that spot. Minnesota, they have Josh Dobbs, the alopecia assassin. I'm sorry, that's just crazy. But he's not going to get Minnesota where they need to be. Even with Justin Jefferson going to be coming back this season, I don't see them doing anything too much, and I don't see them solidified in their spot. The Packers, the Rams, even the Saints, they all have a solid chance of making the playoffs right now. And it's too muddy to really determine who's truly going to be in. You can only say in the NFC who's a 3-man lock. That's it.
All right. I'm not mad at it. I'm going to go AFC, NFC too. AFC, I'm going to start. I'm going to agree 100% with Chris. It's not Chris, Coach. I'm going to say that the Browns and the Colts both fall out of the playoffs. I believe that the Steelers will make it. They're about to go against a 2-10 Cardinals team. I think they're going to win that game, moving them to 8-4. To Coach's point,
they played the Steelers. I'm sorry, not the Steelers, but the Bengals 2 times in a row, and they don't have Burrow. Like what? And they still got another game against the Browns with Joe Flacco.
And my issue
considered elite.
No,
we're talking quarterback at one point.
You sound like a Cowboys fan who's bringing up the 5 championships, thinking you still got it. No, that's not how this is.
I'm just saying what they was talking about.
Anywho, as I was saying, they're going against a Cardinals team that's 2-10, so I think they'll walk out of that game 8-4. They're still a viable team to win their division. I don't think they will. I think the Ravens are solidified as the best team in the AFC North. But because the Steelers are in the hunt, it's to win the division. It's like you can't really just put it over a Mike Tomlin coach team. And we've seen stranger things happen, but I still think the Ravens will do it. So, but I think the Steelers will be in the mix. The Browns, because they have Joe Flacco at quarterback, I'm not going to completely dismiss them because he is a veteran quarterback who probably can come in and stem the tide. But I just don't think that they have enough right now that's convincing me that they're actually going to, win out and get enough wins to make the playoffs. He don't sleep on Flacco. He's a great running and elite defense player.
Which considered him elite.
Listen, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this at all.
That's all I'm saying.
2012, 2013. 20, maybe 14. It is 2023.
Listen, went on a roll and got you guys to the Super Bowl.
We're done with Joe Flacco, okay?
That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is I don't think that the Browns are actually going to push past. I don't necessarily see it. And then the same thing with the Colts. I think the Texans are going to sneak in. I think the Texans are just playing really good football. They're that team that has nothing to lose. Nobody expected this much this early from CJ Stroud. Nobody expected this much from the Texans right now. They're like DeMeco Ryans has got that team just running through a wall for him. They're playing phenomenal. And so I think that the Texans will find a way to sneak in. And I do believe that the Broncos will find a way to sneak in. Again, a situation where they're playing some good football. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills make it in, but I don't think that the Bills are even going to make it this time around. I think it is going to be the Broncos and the Texans who actually slip in there. And then from the NFC standpoint, you guys are extremely disrespectful. First of all, did you know, fun fact, the Falcons are undefeated in their division, 3-0 in their division. Yeah, you guys didn't know that. So with that being said, I think the Falcons are a lock.
You got 3 more games you can lose. I'm sorry.
I think that the Falcons are a lock, and here's the reason why. Our last division game that we just played against the Saints, they didn't even score a touchdown. To your point, Coach, that defense is playing lights out. They had, 5 field goals? That's it. They couldn't score on the Falcons' defense. And this is with their starting quarterback back in the lineup in Derek Carr. They couldn't score a touchdown. So for me, because of the way that defense is playing, I do believe that the Falcons will win that division, that they'll get into the playoffs. Will they win a playoff game? That's a completely different story. But I do think they're going to win the division. I don't see anything happening from the Bucs right now. And then obviously we see what's going on with the Panthers. but I believe that they're gonna make the playoffs. The team that I don't believe is going to make the playoffs right now, I honestly don't think it's going to be. And this is going to be crazy to say. It's hard to say, but I don't believe that the Seahawks are going to make it. I think that the Rams are going to hit a curve here with Kyron Williams coming back, Cooper Kupp getting fully healthy, Puka getting fully healthy. I think the Rams are going to like turn the corner and go on a nice little run. And I think they're going to be the team that comes and swoops in at the last minute and kicks the Seahawks out of the playoffs. Just because I'm liking what I'm seeing from the offense. It's like they're just getting the job done. They're not flashy. They're not blowing people out. They're not look like, oh my goodness. They're just getting the job done. And so for me, I think that the Rams, I think they'll sneak in there. And then the rest of the teams, they're poop. So I don't think it's happening for anybody else. So yeah, that's
one in their division.
That's how I see it playing out, ladies and gentlemen. But we're gonna jump into our game picks now. So I want to hear from you guys. Who do you guys have winning? So on and so forth. And only one explanation. I'm gonna repeat, only one explanation. Coach, I'm gonna start with you. Give us your game picks.
All right, so I didn't know who was gonna win the Seahawks in the Cowboys game. Not gonna lie. Shout out to DK with that great 3-touchdown game for me though in fantasy. Appreciate you, my dog.
Boo.
Balling. But Chargers, Patriots. I'm sorry. The tank continues. Steelers, Cardinals. Yeah, the Steelers gonna win that one. The Cardinals just don't have enough. It'll be a surprise. Colts over the Titans. Lions over the Saints, Falcons over the Jets, Dolphins over the Commanders, Bucks over the Panthers, Rams over the Browns, Chiefs over the Packers, Bengals, no, Jags over the Bengals. I'm going to go Texans over the Broncos. I'm going to go Texans over the Broncos on this one. And my explaining game is actually the 49ers and the Eagles because that's going to be a big game to decide the NFC and really see where everything lies. I'm just curious to see because now that Brock Purdy's healthy, is he going to stay healthy the whole game? Is all the talking that the 49ers been doing actually real? Is it really going to be backed up? I just want to see the game, honestly, for me. I'm not an Eagles fan, but that's just going to be a good game no matter how you want to look at it. I don't care what kind of fan you are. If you're a football fan, you're going to want to see that game. Plus, my team's not playing this week, so I mean, I ain't got nothing to do but watch this regular games.
Are you sure? So, you said you're not an Eagles fan, but
oh yeah, no. You see what it is. You see it. You see it.
Yeah,
as you said, I was a little purple.
We see what it is.
I came on, and I just wanted to let you know what it is.
We see what it is for sure.
But again, definitely probably the game of the week for this week since the Ravens aren't playing. 49ers Eagles division matchup. It's a great game. Just want to see who's actually going to run the ball for real, because that's probably going to decide who wins. Who can run the ball?
I like it. I'm not mad at it. All right, Darius, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna start with the game everybody's gonna be watching. Chargers and Patriots. I'm gonna take the Patriots, even though I want us to tank. I'm always gonna root for my boys. Cardinals, Steelers. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the upset. I think the Cardinals upset. Colts, Titans. I'm gonna take the Colts. Broncos, Texas is my explainer game. I'm gonna come back to that one. I'm taking the Lions over the Saints. I'm taking the Falcons over the Jets. Dolphins over the Commanders. I'm gonna take the Panthers over the Buccaneers. New head coach, so I'm gonna do that. 49ers, Eagles. Whew, this is probably one of the hardest games to pick, honestly, because there's really no wrong answer. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the 49ers. Browns, Rams. I'm gonna take the Rams as well. Chiefs, Packers. I'm actually gonna take the Packers on this one. Bengals, Jaguars. I'm gonna take the Jaguars. And my explainer game is the Broncos, Texans. Listen, both teams, even though the Texans lost last week, both teams are playing phenomenally well. And honestly, this is one of those games that is really going to determine, I think, who gets in the playoffs. The Texans are home. Last week they lost. Obviously, like I said, bad officiating all year round. So that's a game that they should have won. The Broncos are playing really well. Russ is not doing a lot, but he's doing just enough, and that defense is playing well. And Avery, to your point, the Texans are like, those players are playing for DeMeco. Like, this is a team that the expectation was they probably win 4 or 5 games, and then they stock some picks, and but no one thought they would be this good. No one thought CJ Stroud would be this good. I think he has a bounce back game against those Broncos, and I think the Texans come out with a win. I think it's a close game. And I also can see this game being like a 20-17 or like a 17-14 game where two defenses just punch each other's in the mouths. Like, it's going to be one of those games, and it's just going to come down to, we're going to see like the real evolution of CJ Stroud become one of those elite quarterbacks. And it starts with playing against that Broncos defense.
Air quotes like that are only for Joe Flacco being talked about. CJ Stroud.
He was considered. He was considered. They had conversation. That's all I'm saying.
Was considered a Pro Bowl quarterback. Is he still a Pro Bowl quarterback?
He was considered. That's all
He
I'm
was
saying.
never a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Bruh.
Bro,
Anyway,
he beat Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the
the
playoffs.
one
To the
plus
Super Bowl. That's
the
all I'm
one
saying.
plus
That's all I'm
one.
saying.
The 1+1 game picks. Want to explain?
Okay. Just for the record, I picked Dallas to win last night, and I can prove it because I was wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey on Thursday. I am looking for my game picks. Where are they? Okay, here we go. I am taking Indy over Tennessee, the Chargers over New England, Detroit over everybody. Just kidding. Detroit versus New Orleans. The Jets to beat the Falcons, the Cardinals to beat the Steelers, the Dolphins to beat Washington, the Texans to beat the Broncos, the Bucks to take down Carolina, the Rams to beat Cleveland, the Chiefs to beat where are they? The Chiefs to beat Green Bay, the Jaguars to beat Cincinnati, and for my explainer game, I'm gonna do San Fran versus Philly, like Mr. Braxton did. I'm looking at this like the argument can be made that Hurts and Purdy both have solid shots for the MVP. Purdy might be diminished a little bit more because we saw what he was without Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel in the lineup. He couldn't exactly perform, but he's still putting up excellent numbers for what I arguably can say is one of the top 2, maybe number 1 team in the NFL right now. Hurts, astonishingly amazing, taking down winning teams like it's nothing. I think he has like a 14-game win streak against winning teams. The only issue that the Eagles have right now, there's 2 issues. Number 1 is the play calling. Brian Johnson, I know you've been coaching Jalen Hurts your whole life, but you're acting like you're still trying to figure out what he can do. The offense is still a bit of an amalgamated mess, and Jalen Hurts is picking up the slack and doing what he can to make it go, but there has to be a better job of play calling. It's getting better over the course of the season, but it has to keep getting better, especially against a number 1 ranked San Francisco 49ers team. And also speaking in terms of defense, and then speaking of defense, the Philadelphia Eagles defense is near the bottom. It is 19 in yards allowed per game and 20th in points allowed per game. And against the San Francisco team, an offense that is loaded with weapons that can score on you with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle. Like, you have to be able to step up here. I know the addition of Kevin Byard really brought in a new spark. Hey, we got the best. Yes, you do. No one can stop the tush push. But you're going up against a defense that is, injury riddled in the DB position, but is still holding up. Fred Warner leading the charge along with Nick Bosa down the trenches. It's going to be a tough, grimy win. I love how the Eagles are the underdog here, a 3-point underdog, despite having a better record. However, in the grand scheme of things, I am going to take the 49ers to beat the Eagles in this game. And I'm going to say that Brock Purdy is going to put up probably his best numbers so far, I'm gonna say hashtag 350 against this Eagles defense and 2 touchdowns, but he will throw 2 interceptions.
Wow. Wow. I'm not mad at it. All right. My game picks are as follows, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So I also had the Cowboys beating the Seahawks. Falcons, Jets. Falcons, you got to win games outside your division. So I'm going to go with my boys here, okay? Falcons over the Jets. Chargers versus the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I believe the Patriots actually are tanking. Cardinals versus the Steelers. Give me the Steelers. Colts versus the Titans. I will take the Colts. Broncos versus the Texans. This, ladies and gentlemen, I know all the San Francisco and the Eagles situation, but if we're being honest, this might be game of the week. Broncos, Texans. I think that's a playoff game. 2 6-5 teams. Whew, that's tough. But I'm going to go with the home team. I'll go with the Texans here. But that one can go either way. Lions versus the Saints. Give me the Lions. Dolphins versus the Commanders. Give me the Dolphins. Panthers versus the Bucks. I agree with you, Darius. I think the Panthers get their second win. 49ers versus the Eagles will be my explainer. Browns versus the Rams. Give me the Rams. Chiefs versus the Packers. Give me the Chiefs. Bengals versus the Jags. Give me the Jags. My explainer game is the Eagles versus the 49ers. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I think this game is going to come down to one thing and one thing only. Secondary play. And that's going to be the biggest key for me, right? I think at the end of the day, they both have 2 phenomenal defensive lines. The rotation of Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Riddick, Sweat. Like the Eagles, just their front 4 is just in a rotation on the front 4 is absolutely immaculate. Then you've got the 49ers who've got Chase Young and Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave. Like, think about this. Since Chase Young has come over to San Fran, Nick Bosa has 4.5 sacks since he's come over, and now leads the team. Javon Hargrave has 3, and Eric Armstead has 2. Just adding the presence of Chase Young.
They got 11 sacks in 3 weeks.
Like, just adding the presence of Chase Young has absolutely shifted how this team has been playing on the defensive line. And then you look at their front 7 in general. I mean, Fred Warner is the best linebacker in the NFL. Let's just call it what it is. He's the best linebacker in the NFL. He has the potential to become an all-time, if he's not already, an all-time great linebacker. In my opinion, he's an all-time great already. He's absolutely phenomenal. It's going to come down to the secondary. To Juan's point, you've got some injuries on the 49ers, but the Eagles, healthy or not, their secondary has not really been good this year. They brought in Kevin Byard, and they believed that he would be an answer to their issues at the safety position. It's taken him a little bit of time to get acclimated into that system. He did have an interception in their last game, but this is the toughest game for me to call. It's very simple. Here's a very, very fun stat. Since becoming the full-time starter, Jalen Hurts has lost a total of 3 games. That's absolutely absurd. I said this last week on the podcast. I'll reiterate it, and he proved it again against Buffalo. There's not a better clutch time quarterback in the NFL right now than Jalen Hurts. You can't name a better quarterback in clutch time than Jalen Hurts. They were not supposed to win that game against Buffalo. Like, he just finds a way. Again, his poise is otherworldly. However, the issue is that secondary. And for that reason and that reason alone, I think the Eagles are the better team. I'm going to go against my heart here. I'm going to say that the 49ers scrape out a win in this game. And it's just because of that secondary. It has nothing to do with who's a better team. It has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy. It has everything to do with, I think that secondary is not going to make enough plays against Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey catching them football out of the backfield. And even Jawan Jennings, who's just on third down, is like he might be one of the best third down receivers in the NFL. So for me, for that reason alone, I'm going to go against my head here, and it hurts. But I think I'm going to go with the 49ers here to win the game. But I won't be surprised if Jalen Hurts does what he does and wins. Hot take. Okay, yeah, that's a really hot take because That's a spicy hot take right there because they ain't no way.
Because they hate each other.
Yeah, ain't no way, play. Ain't no way. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit of time left, so I want to see if there's anybody out there. If there's any out there, I mean, Chris just made a great segue with that hot take. Does anybody have a hot take that they would like to drop on us for Hot Take Saturday? Let me know. What's up? Who's got one? We already had a hashtag 350.
Yeah, if we're gonna do a hashtag 350, then hashtag 450. 450 because it's someone fast. Gonna be two quarterbacks that go over for me at least 400. And I don't think it's gonna be a defense battle like everybody's talking about. I think it's gonna be a high scoring battle because he's been in high scoring battles all year long.
Okay.
CJ Stroud, Russell Wilson, they light it up. They light it up. Both of them at least 400 yards passing, at least 3 touchdowns passing, and both teams score at least 28 points.
Wow.
Don't worry, Chris. I'm already on it.
Wow. Okay. I'm not mad at that at all. That's pretty spicy. My hot take is very simple. Okay. You guys ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? My hot take is very simple. The Panthers shut out the Bucs. They score 0 points. The Panthers, they come through and say, listen.
Now
we turned in the corner. Okay.
Zero. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Whew. That's super spicy.
That's a hot take because they got Mike Evans.
Yeah, no, you're not keeping Mike Evans out of the end zone. Or
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
got Mike
that's
Evans.
A super hot take. If that happens, then props to you, my guy. Props to you.
Who said? Any other hot takes before we get out of here?
I'll throw one more out there.
All right.
Just into the ether. I'm gonna say similar to what Coach did with that matchup. I'm gonna go with Washington versus Miami.
You stole. Go ahead, Juan. That was my hot take. That game.
I think it's gonna be a shootout between Sam Howell and Tua Tagovailoa. I think both of them are gonna have at least 3 touchdowns passing each. Sam Howell with a rushing one, and both of them will go over 350 passing because both of these secondaries are so suspect.
I like it. You know what?
That was starting.
You know what? I'm going to shift my hot take. There's going to be 2 shutouts. The Panthers shut out the Bucs, and the Dolphins, they shut out their opponent as well. Sam Howell don't score no points. It's going to be a goose egg, ladies and gentlemen. 2 goose eggs this week. You're going to see it. You heard it here first on the Air It Out podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please do me a favor and go follow us on all your social media platforms. That's Instagram at Inside the Hashes, Facebook at Inside the Hashes, Twitter at Inside Hashes. That's right. Y'all saw the switch up there. Okay. Please follow us on all your social media platforms. We got a comment coming in. Who is this commenting here? I have Belichick leaving after this season. If he doesn't go to the Chargers, my sleeper team is he goes to Buffalo. Oh, wow. That's a nice little hot take.
It's not really a hot take. I mean,
that's
Brian
not really a hot take.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. But anyway,
that's all Pat Square's talking about.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please do me a favor. Also, go to YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then turn on the notifications. That way you'll know when we're going live, and you can get your comments put in here live, just like you saw with Chris. Shout out to Chris being in the chat. We miss you, buddy. And then do me a favor, go to InsideTheHashes.com, www.InsideTheHashes.com. That's where you're going to get everything football related, podcasts, blogs, interviews, highlights, fantasy football, all of those different things. We are the apex of football at Inside the Hashes. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to do all those things individually, I've got a way for you. All you got to do, scan that right there. You see that right there? You see that? Okay, that QR code. Scan that QR code. It'll take you exactly where you need to be. But for Darius, for Coach, and for the 1+1, my name is Avery. This is the Air It Out podcast, brought to you by Inside the Hashes. And yes, you guys are correct. If Matt Ryan didn't pass,
all I'm saying is
he's
we're not doing this. We're not adding to We're
not and you win 2 playoff games against Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.